Good morning, family. It will never be a Sunday morning here without an introduction from Reverend Jones. Give that man some love. I want to acknowledge Reverend Gerald and my good friend Nathaniel White Jr., chairs of this year's Men's Month for a very successful month, and to acknowledge all the men. So I'll invite you all to just join me, if you would indulge me in celebrating the men at the Los Angeles Spirit Church for Spiritual Living. I'm grateful that they invited me to come today and to be a part of this experience, not only to be a part, but to close it out with this tremendous theme that they've been sharing with you this entire month, a successful man. When I received Reverend Gerald's email and I saw the theme, and he had listed several characteristics of a successful man as they follow the topic. And in it, he said that a successful man is truthful, that he is faithful, prayerful, loving, wise, responsible, and sober. And he's all of those. But you know, at the end of the day, a successful man is just that, successful. Now, but the question that I'd like to begin by posing to each of you this morning is this: how do you measure success? What is the tool that you use to measure success? Most people, when they're asked that and they begin to talk about success, oftentimes the focus is a comparison to someone else. We look at the things that other people have going on in their lives. We look at where they live. If they live in the biggest house upon the hill, we say that they are a success. If they drive the shiniest new foreign car, we say that they are a success. If they land the biggest roles of a park in Hollywood, we say that they are a success. If they're the pastor of the largest churches in town, we say that they are a success. If they have a bunch of albums or CDs that are out for sale, we can say that they are a success. But the question I ask is, how do you measure success? I began by identifying the characteristics that were listed in the email that begin to identify this topic. And as Reverend Gerald said in the introduction, I have a couple more that I'd like to add. And the first I'd like to share with you is that a successful man is understanding. Because I believe that everything begins and ends in consciousness. See, a successful man believes that he is connected to something that we call divine intelligence that created everything that is a part of the manifest universe. That he is the result of some interaction of this divine stuff upon itself. And he understands that innately each of us have everything that we need in order for our lives to be a success. Not only a success, but a great success. Every one of you that is sitting in here this morning that is listening to me, you are successful. And with that, I'd like for you just to affirm these simple words. I am successful. Say, I am successful. Now, I need you to understand just why you are successful. When you leave out of here, you may get into the raggediest car in the parking lot. And it's only ragged when you compare it to the one that is next to it. But understand that you are a success in the acquisition of that automobile. You may live in the most dilapidated housing situation on the block. Your house may be worse than any other one that is there. but understand that you were a success in acquiring that house. Wherever your educational level may be, wherever it was that it was cut off, you were a success in getting just that far. The job that you work on or the business that you may have, whether the job is a dead end or whether you are still climbing, whether your business is one that is explosive and expanding or whether it's one that is dormant, you were a success in the creation of that wherever it is. So whatever it is that you are doing, wherever it is that you are at in this whole scheme of things, you need to understand that you are a success. And you're a success already. Now, so often when we begin to do our own comparisons and compare where we are to everyone else, we think that we are not a success, but you are successful. Now, understand this. It may be unconscious success, but success nevertheless. That you received a certain level of achievement just by doing. Just by doing. You made this acquisition. You acquired whatever it is that you've acquired in life. You reached the point wherever you are at. And you've done that unconscious. You didn't give it a whole lot of thought. You were just in motion. And just look at where you are as the result of just being in motion. Without giving conscious direction to yourself, look at what it is that you've been able to achieve. Put your hand on your heart and say to yourself that I am successful.
I am successful.
Yes, you truly are. Another characteristic, and I probably need to clarify something, that is, we're saying men because it's Men Month, but ladies, the words are gender neutral. They're all inclusive for everybody. There is man and there is woman, and so I'm including everyone as a part of this. A successful man is contemplative. And we may say, what is that? Well, when you begin to understand the kind of power that you have access to, and just think for a moment that in your ability to use that power that you can be creative. And then begin to process exactly the process that you use to be creative with this power. It all begins with you being able to quiet yourself, to settle yourself, and begin to focus. Now, focus on the self as opposed to so much focus on someone else. Once again, I said in our assessments of success, we're quick to talk about what someone else had and slow to look at the things that we ourselves have acquired. But we are a success. Now, just think for a moment, if we were just to turn within and begin to focus inwardly and to just think, what is it that would create the greatest amount of happiness within your space? What is it that you would like to achieve in this current experience that you call your own life? Where is it that you would like to go? How would you like to augment the things that you're doing? How would you like to change your experience? And if someone said that this is all possible, that as you quiet yourself and you begin to focus and realize that you are aligning with something that is greater than you, that is looking to you to provide an avenue by which it shall create. Just a moment ago, we talked about unconscious success. And it was unconscious because we created molds, we created images within our own mind. And see, and spirit did not pass judgment on the things that we created within our minds. What it did was just acted upon the mold that you gave it. We looked at our experience and we saw what it was that we created with the result of this unity that we have with God. Now imagine when we are directing this power, directing this spiritual influence, directing this energy. The process by which we use to go about doing that is to have moments of contemplation, to quiet oneself, to settle oneself, and then in the silence of our own thought, begin to direct thought in a more positive and conscious direction. Speaking something of greater influence and empowerment within your own mind, and understanding that something happens as a result of that. So let's embark upon that process. How did all of this happen? Another affirmation, another characteristic is this: I have the power. Just think of that. Process that for a moment. I'll say it once again. I have the power. Now I'd like for you to share that with me. I have the power. Let's say it once again.
I have the power.
Okay, you are talking about your gift. You are talking about your ability. You're talking about something that you have, be it intangible as a part of this discussion, but yet it is something there within yourself. You have the power. The power to what? The power to create greater success. Now, how does this happen? I know, for instance, that all the power there is and all the glory there is and all the presence there is always with us, always, all the time. But it's about believing it, accepting it, and acting as though it is there. Therein the difference is made. Believing it, accepting it, and acting as though that it is there. See, I can say, or I can tell you all day long that you have these spiritual gifts. I can share with you all day long that you have this divine quality within you. I can talk about you being contemplative and the result that that brings to your experience all day long, but the difference is made when you begin to believe that, when you begin to accept that, and then more importantly, when you begin to act as though it is true. We can speak all day long about uniting with something greater than yourself, but you have to believe that possible. And then after believing it being possible, then you have to do something about it. See, nothing happens as long as we are dormant. We have to be active in this thing in order for something to take place. Activity, as I'm sharing with you, is beginning in your thinking. It all begins in thought. Everything that you have ever experienced in life began as an idea.
Yes.
And that idea evolved from an abstract element in your mind into a living manifestation in your experience. Now, you could unconsciously allow a thought just to wander through your mind and become your experience, or you can direct a thought. And direct it, I mean by staying focused on something good that you desire to take place within your circumstance. Imagine every day awakening, sharing with yourself that you are a success. Imagine every day awakening, saying to yourself that today is the day that I'll experience a greater good. Imagine waking today and saying to yourself, whatever the discipline is that you are a part of, that today I'm going to be greater at this than I was on yesterday. And then move forward with the expectation that something is happening as a result of that which you've said. That's power. That's power that is unseen, but nevertheless, it is power. And it is that level of power that comes to us when we unite with that which is greater than us, but yet it's flowing through us, seeking for each of us to provide it an avenue by which it might work in our experience. That's when contemplation comes into play. You know, when we talk about quieting oneself and having an experience of meditation or being involved in spiritual mind treatment, it's not just because we think that you have nothing else to do. It's because these are the tools of change. These are the tools that one uses to augment their experience. These are the tools that you use to bless your circumstance. Once again, you have the option. You can move around and allow success to come as a result of an unconscious experience, or you can seize the moment and begin to consciously direct activity for the good within your own life and your own circumstance. It's like being delighted that you have this power and grateful for the ability to use it and constantly and consistently applying it. Imagine what happens when you get excited about the gifts that God has given unto you, and you go forward to use them always in every single facet of your experience. That there's nothing that you could be involved in that you'll begin to employ these methods. It is something like the psalmist says in his very first psalm. He said, "Blessed is the man who finds his delight in the law of the Lord. And in that law does he meditate both day and night. And he shall be like a tree planted by a stream of water, that beareth fruit in his season. His leaf shall not wither, and whatsoever he doeth shall prosper." Imagine he's talking about you. That as you become more and more excited about the use of the law, and you begin to direct it in your experience and in your circumstance through a method that we just outlined as being contemplative, and you're so happy and excited about this tool that you're using it constantly because you're consistently blessing yourself, you're consistently thinking about other areas in your life that you'd like to experience and like to make better. And he's saying that there is a result that happens to one that finds himself doing this. That there's a blessing. And this is the result of that blessing. You'll be like a tree planted by a stream of water. You know, there are trees in the desert and there are trees by streams of water. Which ones do you think grow the fastest? The one that is near its source of nourishment. And that's the implication here, that if you're at the source of nourishment, and you're constantly receiving from that source, then you're constantly having a level of demonstration. This is the result of being connected to that source. And that's who we are. We're connected to that source. And because we're connected to that source, we are enough. We have enough of everything already. You know, we think that we need to ask for more. No, we don't need to ask for more. If we ask for anything, it's how to use what we have. Because we have enough of everything already. You are enough. And that's something that you need to tell yourself. As a matter of fact, let's say this. Say, "I am enough." I am enough. Pronounce it to the universe. I am enough. I am enough. Yes, you are. You are enough. You know why? Because you are a unique, you are a whole expression of God. You are made in that image and in that likeness of the divine. But so importantly, being made in that image and that likeness of the divine, now you have the opportunity to act like your Father. And I'm not talking about the one that you celebrated a couple of Sundays ago. I'm talking about the real Father. You have an opportunity to act like that Father. Spoke something one day and all of a sudden it manifested into form. Why? Because he believed that it would happen and not the contrary. Imagine when you do the same thing. Believe that it will happen and not the contrary. You have that ability. You have the wherewithal within yourself to make that happen. It's just about doing it. There's a famous young man. His name is Dr. Travis Bradbury. And Dr. Bradbury is the co-author of a book entitled Emotional Intelligence 2.0. He is a trainer for 75% of the Fortune 500 companies. He's well published. His articles are featured in the Harvard Business Review and the Wall Street Journal. He's listed in Forbes, Business Week, and all the periodicals. They all are publishing his works. And his work is to go to folk and remind them just how powerful they are, because they are successful. And that's what he does. And that's why these Fortune 500 companies have hired him. They bring him in, and he reminds them, like I'm reminding you, of what you have within you. See, it's about these subtle reminders that we need in order to shake us up, to alter the course of where we are. We say we want more, but then we become complacent. And all we need to do is begin to focus more, affirm more, accept more, and then act as though more is in fact ours. He has a couple of observations in the book that I'd like to share, because I think they relate so succinctly to what it is that we're talking about this month, this idea of a successful man, because he draws the parallel here between success and power. And what he implies is that these two ideas are both opposite sides of the same coin. That success and power, they go hand in hand. Now, two ideas that he has that I wanted to share was that one, he talks about the habits of powerful people, and secondly, the impact of power. Now, he says something here that I'd like to quote, and it goes this way. He says, people who care and use power wisely have a profound impact on everyone they encounter. Yet they achieve this power only because they exert so much influence inside on themselves. Imagine that. They're able to achieve so much because they exert such influence inside of themselves. It takes us back once again to this whole notion about being contemplative. To exert attention and influence on things that are happening on the inside. Because the stuff that is going on the inside are the factors that affect everything that is happening on the outside. When you begin to look at where you are in your life, or where you are in the whole scheme of things, you'll get a clue as to what's going on within, or what's not going on within. Because whatever is happening internally is showing on the external. He says that we see only their outside. We see them innovate, speak their mind, and propel themselves forward towards bigger and better things. Yet, we're missing the best part, the confidence and the wherewithal that makes their influence possible. All of that are elements of thought. Confidence that one exerts is the result of their thinking. And once again, it is what it is and how that we think that determines exactly what's happening or what shall transpire in our outer experiences. Now, in the book, he identifies 11 habits which are unique to powerful people. Now, those 11 habits we're not going to go through today. We'll save that for a workshop. But for our purposes today, I'd like to focus on one that I believe is the most important. And he says it, and it's so succinct, and that is, they believe. Very simply. They believe. What do you believe? And it's not for you to tell me, it's for you to answer within yourself. What is it that you believe? So powerful people always expect the best. Do you? They believe in their own power to achieve their dreams. And they believe that others share the same power. Do you believe in your own power to achieve your dreams? And once again, it's not for you to ask the answer rather outwardly. It's just something to process within. When you think about where you are, and if you're frustrated that you're not further along with where it is that you would like to go, maybe it's because the dreams or the visions that you have you don't believe impossible. And if you don't believe impossible, you have never empowered them to come alive. Is that the proverb says? As a man thinketh, so is he. And it is done unto you. That's the law. Dr. Bradbury didn't come up with something new. He just put it in a different context. This is law. And when we begin to use it, we alter the course of our experience. Our failure to use it, well, that's our own business. You have every right to stay where you are. You have every right not to succeed in your life if that's what you desire. If you are comfortable with where you are at, then everyone else should be comfortable with you. Because it's where you are at, it's because it's where you want to be. The difference is if you decide that you'd like to change that, to know that you can. That today can be the first step in that movement out of the place from where you were to the place that you would like to go. To never think that it's too late. Never to think that I'm too old. Never to think that I'm too infirm. Never to think that I don't have this or I don't have that. Take all of those things out of the equation. Remember, they're there because you have placed them there. They're the blocks that you have placed yourself. And just as you have put them in place, you have the power to remove them. To remove them is something then that you must do, and it must be a conscious act. Because without it being a conscious act, once again, you're having an unconscious success.
Yeah.
He goes on, he said, they believe that nothing is out of reach, and that belief inspires those around them. I believe nothing is out of reach. I believe that we can receive whatever it is that we desire to go after if we're willing to put the time, the energy, and the effort to go after. Because it is done unto us as we believe. So once again, I invite you to firm into your own understanding these powerful ideas. One, I am successful. And secondly, I am powerful. Let's say that.
I am successful. I am powerful.
Now imagine awakening on tomorrow and affirming that once again, a reminder into your own subconscious thought. This is what you are. You are successful. And that you are indeed powerful. And then believe that something's going to happen to you as a result of that. You know, I shared earlier, there was a tune I used to hear every morning as a child growing up in Connecticut. And in the Northeast, you know, religious programming at that time was something that was on the radio every morning. And the Knights of Columbus was one of the big religious organizations there. They had major programming that went on the radio. And there was a tune that used to come on without fail every morning. And the lyrics went something like, come to the fountain, drink from the well. Come to the fountain, cast all your cares. Come to the fountain and drink of the living stream. The living stream. Come to the fountain and drink of the living stream. And you know, as I grew older and as I began to get involved with a whole myriad of things in life, whenever there was any kind of difficulty, for some reason that tune would come back to my mind. Come to the fountain. In other words, go to your source and drink that the source is trying to give unto you. Imagine that. This living stream, this everlasting fountain of good is something that is constantly being shared unto each of us. In every difficulty, we have this to confront it with. As I thought of that tune, I was reminded of John's writing in the Revelation. It said, I am Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the end. And I will give unto him that is athirst from the fountain of the water of life free. And he that overcometh shall inherit all things. So imagine that. The thirsty one is the seeker. That's each of us. Fountain is the source that we go to. That we go to get relief. And the water of life is the power that is given unto us. That water is flowing in the consciousness of each of us always, all the time. It is just as we take the time to center ourselves, to go into a moment of contemplative thought, that we unite with that presence, direct that power and its activity into our experience, and then become the champions that we were created to be. We are successful. We are powerful. Seize your success. Seize your power and grow. Peace and blessings.